start the recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Oncology Spa Solutions webinar series. We are on number 21 today. Woohoo! And here we are all the way into almost the end of August. It's unbelievable, isn't it? As you are coming in, and you know, we always let everybody have a little bit of time coming in, would you please put your name in the chat and let us know who's here and where you're from. And Shamali, can you see that as well? Can you see the chat?
I can.
Okay.
Yep.
So as they come in, that is also where we will ask them to put questions so that they can ask questions. And if you would like, you can eyeball that and answer questions as you see them. And then if not, you can go ahead and let me do it, whatever works. Okay, we'll kind of go with the flow. All right, so we've got Mary Ellen and we've got Evangeline from Hawaii. She says, aloha, everyone. Colleen from PA, Michelle from Arizona. Okay, what's the temperature in Arizona, Michelle? I always like to hear what's going on in the world. Sandy from Oklahoma. We've got Patricia from California. Ooh, Jennifer from Maryland. Monique from California. Amy from Colorado. And we've got them from all over. Jennifer, good morning from Mercer Island. Really hot, 110. Oh my good Lord. I'm thankful I live here. I was thinking it's been in the 80s, high 80s, and we even had high 90s last weekend, and that was too hot for me, but that's why I live here.
That's why you live in Seattle.
That's right. Yeah, we even had rain last night, so now it's going to be 80 and really muggy today, but you know what? It's not 110, so I'm happy with that. We'll give it just a few more minutes. We had a lot of interest in this particular topic today. So we had almost 90 people register, which is great. And typically the way it goes, we get about half that. And then, you know, they get to see this later. So something came up and they end up not being able to come, but then they can always view it later. We do put it on the back side of the website and then I give it to you. And then I'm actually contemplating putting up a YouTube channel and just putting all the webinars there. So
that's a good idea.
Exposure, yeah. And I will do that actually this weekend and we'll start with this one because we want to market our box. So I think that will be a good test trial to see if you're okay with that.
No, it's perfectly fine.
Okay. Yep. Perfect, 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 perfect. Oh, Melissa from Chicago. Hello, Melissa Bryson. So you are in California, and you know, California is having probably the toughest time with this quarantine because they are the last ones to open up the spas. They still haven't opened up spas.
Right. Well, the place I get my hair cut is cutting hair on the grass and doing pedicures in the grass in little marquees, and so it's a little bit like going to the resort and having your massage and everything outside. So,
which that could actually be kind of cool. I'm not sure how that works.
It's a little different because the spa is next to the Safeway, and so it's a little strange setup, but it's okay. It works.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, right now we're doing what we have to do,
right?
And we're all getting very creative because that's all you can do. So we got Tracy from New York. Hello, Miss Rempin. Good to see you again, and Geraldine. Good to see you as well. So Geraldine, we need to connect you with Geraldine.
Okay.
Shamali, she is out of Illinois, and she works with the Waterford Cancer Resource Center there, and she is their esthetician at the Cancer Resource Center.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What's going on here?
Geraldine O'Brien. Okay.
So it looks like we have a question in the Q&A. Oh, Marina just says, good morning. Good morning, Marina. I read an article yesterday about what's happening in San Francisco in regards to businesses, and my heart just breaks because I know a lot of estheticians in San Francisco and they're really, really having a tough time. You know, rents are super high already, taxes are high, all of that, and now they haven't been able to see clients in 6 months. So
it's a strange time. You know, a lot of the estheticians, like my esthetician and the hairdresser called and said, you know, I can come to your house and we can do this on the front porch. And you know, I guess that's how people are doing. So yeah.
And that's all we can do. And then of course we have to gear up big time. We have to wear masks, and we have to wear, you know, things like this, if you can see that, you know, shields, gloves. I've got somebody that's sending me a big shield that sits on a bed. I'll actually do a demo with it just to kind of see, because I can't imagine working like that, but we got to do what we got to do. And if that's what we have to do to get out there and make business happen.
So this strange one is, he said, well, you can come to the salon and I'll color your hair, okay? But then you have to go back home and wash it out. So I was like, I'm gonna sit in my car with all this color and go home? How's that supposed to work?
Yeah, exactly. And what if you get in a traffic jam?
What if I drip color in my car?
Any of that. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and start. We've got about half of the people here, and we are at our time. So good morning, everyone. Again, welcome. I'm super excited that you're here with us today. And I always say that all my guests are special and that I'm excited to have them on. But I know that this one's a little bit different, and she really is super special. So I cannot wait for you to meet her and see all of the wonderful things that she is doing in the world of oncology, especially in oncology. But I'm sure in just playing out in the medical world, you're doing things as well. So let's get going, and let's talk a little minute about what we're going to do today. So again, those that don't know me that are on the call, I'm Becky. I'm the founder of Oncology Spa Solutions, and I am a master esthetician and a cosmetologist. And I'm also a holistic cancer coach, a hope coach, and an ambassador of encouragement, a purveyor of change, and a merchant of hope. You know, there's that word again, hope. Interesting, a call this week. I had a call from an esthetician who said, and this one's a very common thread of what I'm hearing. I love what I do, but I don't love it anymore, or I don't love it right now. I can't stand wearing a mask. You know, what can I do that's different, that means more, right? So I've just had so many people asking about the Hope Coaching Program, so that will be the next program that rolls out. So those of you that are interested, send me an email, and I'm just collecting a list. We'll get you on that list and get you trained so that you can be a Hope Coach, and then you can figure out what you want to do. One thing about Hope Coaching is that it's one of those courses that you will be hopeful while you're taking it, because you're going to learn all the skills about implementing hope into someone else's life as well as yours. So we are going to do our little weekly check-in. We're going to do a poll that we always do. We're going to look at the O Skin Love line today, and then you're going to meet Dr. Singhal. We'll have lots of time for questions. So think about questions that you would want to ask an oncologist, okay? So, how you doing? Now your turn, Dr. Singhal.
How are you doing?
How you doing? Guys, we're in, again, week 21. So that means 21 weeks that we've been, you know, having a little bit of an abnormal time. Let's just put it that way. Will this last forever? I don't think so. But I hope you're doing well. And again, remember that I'm here. I do have a lot of you that reach out, and I have wonderful conversations with you. I would love to hear from you. If you need me, I'm here, okay? So let's do our poll. And today we're gonna ask questions. Again, take a minute if you wouldn't mind, guys, and fill this out. So are you already oncology trained? I like to find out who is already trained on the call. And then are you, if you are oncology trained, are you using these skills? So are you working in a hospital or a cancer center, a nonprofit, or are you just working where you are at? Have you ever wanted to work with a doctor? Let's find out. Ooh, 100% said yes on that one. Have you ever tried the O Skin Love line? So 40% have tried them, 60% have not. Working in a cancer center. Only 18% are currently working with, actively working with cancer patients in either a cancer center, nonprofit, or hospital. And about 78% said no, but they want to. And the majority of you on the call are oncology trained already. 18%, not yet, but you want to be. And are you using your oncology skills? So this one's a little bit tough right now because a lot of cancer centers and hospitals are really not allowing integrative treatments for cancer patients, which again breaks my heart, because I think they need us more than anybody else, and they really need us right now. They're quarantined, they're feeling very isolated and alone, and there's so much that we could do. So hopefully that changes real quick. I think with you know, really coming up with the standards of practice, and I gave a whole list of things that I would be doing for my hospital, and now they're going, oh, maybe we can do facials. So hopefully that'll change. All right, guys, thank you for the poll. That's perfect. That's exactly what we needed to hear. So we'll close that for right now, and let's move on. So we're going to talk first just quickly about the O Skin Love products. And, you know, I haven't done this yet in a webinar, and I'm doing it now again because I have so many people that have asked. And also these products are in the Hope and Beauty box that you're going to hear about a little bit later in this webinar. So O Skin Love, the O stands for oncology. And you know, when I was naming it and working with a marketing person, I actually was going to call it Oncology Skin Love. And someone goes, don't do that, you know, because nobody wants to buy, just like I tell you guys, nobody wants to buy a cancer line. They want products that are going to be helpful to them, but they want to feel normal and pampered and loved. So why was this line created? You know, very simply, to fill a gap. I work with schools, I work with hospitals, cancer centers, nonprofits. They all needed one line that they could do a whole facial with that had clean ingredients. That means that it was a line specifically created for super sensitive or compromised skin. It also was created by a formulator who is a biologist in his background as well. So that means that he knows the difference of what is that chemical going to do to the body. So not just what is it going to do to the formulation, but what will it do to the body? And I loved that. When I met him, I knew it was like the perfect match. It's got a low price point. That was another thing that was really important. There's a lot of great lines out there, but when you were to buy 4 or 5 items, you would be looking at $200 to $500. And a cancer patient doesn't have that kind of money. So we wanted to have a price point that would fit their budget, but would still be luxurious and effective. Okay, and we did it. I'm super excited about it. The other thing that was important to me was that it was exclusive. So it would be a line that people would come to you for, right? They can't get it on Amazon. They can't go anywhere else and get it at this point. Who knows what will happen in the future? But right now it's on my website. It's going to be on the doctor's website. And we're going to be doing it in a few boxes as an introduction. But other than that, they have to come back to you to buy it. Okay, so to me, that was really important. So we started with the Comfort Care Collection, which was a kit that is $99. And it has basically everything that you need to do a facial. And it's going to last them 3 to 6 months, depending on how they use it, and cover everything. So there's not a margin in this, guys, because, and I did that on purpose. So this wasn't a money maker, and this wasn't the reason why I did this. I wasn't looking for another flow of income. In fact, this is probably, well, it has cost me, but it's a labor of love, and it's been well worth it because the patients that get it, and I'll tell you this fun little consult. I did a consult with a lady about 2 weeks ago, and I think I shared this with you, but last week's webinar, but I'm going to share the story again because it was so touching. She came for a wig consultation, but I did a Zoom. And on the Zoom, I could see that her face was really red. So I'm looking at her face and I'm going, could you come a little closer to your camera? What's going on with your skin? And she started crying and she started telling me, you know, the things that were going on with her skin, and she did not know what to do. So we sent her the wig, but we also sent her this collection, and she came back as soon as she got it, literally 2 days later, and just said, oh my goodness, my skin feels comfortable. My skin feels like me again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She didn't even say anything about the wig, which I thought was kind of cute. So it's a good line, guys. Very simple. There is a gentle face wash that will not strip your barrier. So it will cleanse, but leave your barrier and all your lipids there, because a cancer patient who's got very dry skin needs that. We've got the Skin Loving Oil, Hugs and Kisses in a bottle. And this is, again, all pure organic. We'll go over the ingredients in a minute. Boost. You can use it on your face. You can use it on your face with a hydrator or alone. You could use it on your nails. You can use it on your elbows. You can use it anywhere you need a little extra oil love, okay? Then there is a HA serum, and I think HA is really important. We will have a webinar on this in October. So why hyaluronic acid? Why do we need it? And what is the difference between the hyaluronic acids? Because now we've got big companies, and I won't name names because I'll get in trouble, but we've got big companies touting hyaluronic acid, right? So you see it in commercials and people are talking about it now. I went to the store and looked at that product. There was less than 1% of hyaluronic acid in that product. So will it do what they want it to do? Probably not, right? But that's education, and that we know, and we can educate our clients as well. Then we have the amazing oil. So this is the tamanu oil. And I just get so many comments and wonderful feedback on this particular product. So it is, all it is pure tamanu oil, guys, organic, cold pressed, pure tamanu oil. But this is what really helps speed up the healing of incisions and scars, any bug bites, any burns. So it could be used on your radiation dermatitis. It is fantastic. So a lady this week, I posted it on Instagram because she called me. She was from Florida. I don't even know where she heard of me, but somehow she heard about this oil, and she had bought one from one of my people there who's now no longer in the area. So she reached out and said, can I please buy it? I said, sure. Would you tell me what you love about it? And she said, she was an older lady, and she said, what I love about it and what I use it for are my old lady bruises. She goes, do you know that when I put this on my old lady bruises, they go away? And she goes, I live in Florida and I want to wear shorts and I want to wear short sleeve, but I don't want to show everybody my old lady bruises, right? So there's another one to add to the list of the wonderful things that the amazing oil will do. The hydrate, 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 of course, got its name because, you know, I say that in the training, that this is what we want to do with our client is hydrate the heck out of them, right? So hydrate, 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 a good shea-based, occlusive moisturizer that's not too heavy, but perfect. And again, this formulator did a fantastic job. And what I love about it is that bottle right there would be anywhere from $60 to, I've seen $300 for that size moisturizer. This one is $34 retail. So again, very affordable for the client. Then we came out with the Face Love for the brows and lash, and we have it in 3 different colors, light, dark, and cinnamon. And again, I told you about the Comfort Care collection. So it's a $189 value and we sell it for $99. Now the bummer is for you guys, if you want to buy it like this, it's $99 for you as well. There isn't a wholesale pricing because there's no margin. It's already at wholesale, okay? But we do that because who is our end goal? Who are we trying to really, really care for? Not our pocketbook, but the cancer patient, okay? So it had to be the right price point so that they could afford this and be able to purchase it and use it. So you could use this, and a lot of SDs have bought this, guys, used it as back bar. So you could do that, or you can buy all of the individual pieces at wholesale. So you can get a wholesale account, not a problem, and you can sell this product as well. No minimum orders, order what you need. So the ingredients, remember I said it was super important to have lots of the good stuff and none of the bad stuff. So the good stuff is listed on the left. And again, you can have a copy of this PowerPoint if you want, just send me an email. Well, actually, remember I put this on the website. I'll put it in a 3-slide PDF and you can download it and look at it that way. But you can see all of the oils and the choices that we made based on, if you look at this, why it's in there. And look at the reason or what this particular oil does. Look at how many anti-inflammatory oils or ingredients are in these products, right? Because that is what our client deals with the most. So we need to calm and soothe that skin first and then hydrate and protect it. So we've kind of covered all the bases. None of the bad stuff. So those of you that have taken the class, you know this is based off of the ingredient to avoid card and also your ingredient section in the manual. I wanted to add in here, nothing in it is GMO'd or any animal byproducts. So if somebody's looking for a vegan line, this will work as well. And no animal testing, okay? You know how much I love animals. I would be really sad to have a product that was tested on animals. So that was important to me as well. So in the right price points, as I said, here are the price points. The face wash, you can purchase at $10, right? The skin loving oil is only $15. The HA serum is $12. The Amazing Oil is 12, the Hydrate is 17, and the Lash and Brow Kit is 18. And then of course you Keystone or double that for retail, and that is the suggested retail pricing. Can you discount it if you want to for a cancer patient? Of course you can, okay? That I am not gonna have a hard line on that at all, because you need to do what is best for that client and what works with your business model, okay? How do you order? All you have to do is obtain that professional login to the members side of the Oncology Spa Solutions website. And then when you do place your first order, you're gonna send me a copy of your aesthetics license, your business license, and your reseller's permit if you have them, okay? Again, no minimum orders, and we also have all kinds of marketing material. I didn't bring it in the room, but I've got a nice little card that goes with it that has, it's kind of like a little prescription card. Because remember, we talk about the client who might have a little bit of chemo brain going on. They're gonna get their products, they're gonna go home, and they're not gonna remember how to use it in what order. So it's all written out for them, and it goes right in with the order. So if you order, we send some of those. We also have brochures, and our brochures are a little bit unique. Did you get them yet?
I probably did. I haven't unpacked everything.
Okay, so I did something that most companies don't do, and that is I listed the products and every ingredient in the product on the brochure. Because again, that's what makes it a little bit different. And again, we're in the business of educating our clients. So we want them to know why they would want to choose this line, okay? So all of that stuff is available as well. So now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Shamali Singhal. And she and I met, you know what? I was thinking about this the other day. I think we met at Face and Body a year or so ago. You were walking around that show and you were—
Oh, in San Jose. Yes, I went to that show.
Yes. So I think I met you back then. But anyway, we have recently connected and we're working together on this great thing that you're going to hear about. You can see it in my background, Hope and Beauty, Chemo Companion products. She has come up with a great kit box program, and I'm going to let her take it from here. I'm going to let you talk for a minute, and while you're talking, I'm going to go ahead and switch out the PowerPoints, okay?
Oh, sure. So thank you very much for having me, and I really appreciate all your kind words. I will just tell you a little bit about my background, because I've gone, you know how they say when you talk about your career, it's kind of a straight line, but it really isn't a straight line, and it kind of goes zigzag. So I started off in medical school with the idea that I was going to do what we call bench to bedside. And what bench to bedside is that you then find drugs in the lab, and you decide how they're going to work and what they're going to do, and then you're going to develop trials and all this and get them to patients. All right, so as a result of that, I did my PhD in pharmacology. And so that is the study of medications. It's the study of side effects of medications. It's how they work, mechanisms of action, and all that. And I came from the lab that discovered Taxol, which you guys all know. So in 1989, I started medical school, and in 1991 were the first trials of Taxol. And so we learned a lot from patients in that time. And so when I finished my PhD, I went back to medical school. And most people that had this interest, like I did, to do bench to bedside would do internal medicine, and then they would go a few years in the lab, and then they would be clinical, and they might do oncology as a subspecialty. And so when I went back to medical school, I actually very much liked surgery. And so everybody that did that had been there for my PhD, and my faculty advisors and everybody said, "What are you doing? Don't you know surgeons don't do, all this bench to bedside you've been talking about for all these years, surgeons don't do it. You realize that surgery is very concrete, and that there's nothing about the drugs that surgeons do." And I said, well, I really like surgery. And what I like about surgery is that you have impact. You have intense impact into people's lives. You have the ability to actually fix something, right? And in those days, a lot of the drugs, you really didn't, you could extend life, you couldn't actually, some people you could cure, but not lots, okay? And it really took many more years for it to be really clear that some of the medications really can cure your disease. But surgery had this sort of very interventional, very clear decision making, and I was like, okay, I'd like that. That's cool. So I ended up doing 5 years of general surgery, and I trained in Seattle near Becky. So I was at Harborview, I was at the University of Washington, and as part of my training, I did general surgery. So, I did transplant, I did cardiac, I did trauma, all of those things. And then, Harborview in the summer is a place, right? I mean, it's a big trauma center. This covers 5 states. And so I was at the university for 5 years. And then after I finished, so I did 8 years of MD and PhD. Then I did 5 years of residency. And then I followed that with 3 years of fellowship. And my fellowship was in surgical oncology. And I did that at City of Hope in Los Angeles. And what I did 2 years in the lab and 1 year clinical. And what was really interesting about surgical oncology, different than general surgery as such. General surgeons, you go, you take the appendix out, and we're done, and thank you for coming, goodbye, right? But in surgical oncology, it's a team. And so the team works together on X patient. So you see them maybe in their first go round of disease, and then you kind of discuss with all your other colleagues about what's the next thing. And then if they recur, then you discuss it again. And there's a whole number of patients that with this kind of collective approach, and which thing do you do first? Which thing do you do second? What do you do for people allows people to live a fairly long time with these diseases, right? And diseases that when we talked about them, so if you had asked me in 1989, how long does someone with colon cancer live, right? It was about 6 months, right? Metastatic colon cancer, 6 months. And so now here we are in 2020, and most colon cancer patients live minimum 2 years with metastatic disease. And I have patients that are 10, 12, 14 years out from their metastatic colorectal cancer.
That's fantastic.
So in some ways, we've really improved our ability to take care of these people. And so this idea that you're one treatment and done is just not part of it, which means for the cancer patient, there's some of them that had cancer and that they no longer have it, but they're still a cancer survivor. Right. And then there are people who continuously have cancer, right? They're in, they're out, they're back, they're forth, they have a couple of years without this. And, nobody wants to hear that cancer is a chronic disease, but if you have metastatic breast cancer and you're alive for 12 years, I don't know what you call it, but it's, it's just what it is. Right? I mean, there must be some name for it, but I don't know exactly what you call it.
Living with cancer. And that's how I hear the patients say it. No, I'm living with cancer. And, when you ask them that, they say, that means I will have cancer for the rest of my life, but I'm living. Right. Yeah.
But it doesn't actually have to limit your life, which is, I think, the key differentiator to how people think about cancer and what actually happens. And so when I finished, and, I know that there's a lot of people with small businesses and a lot of people on that are probably at the, various places in their career, but I got married and I had a baby at the end of my fellowship. And I was supposed to take a job back at the University of Washington. And I was supposed to, I had all these grand plans that I was going to be at the University of Washington. And my husband couldn't get a job there. So we ended up coming back to the Bay Area where I grew up. And I couldn't find a job. So I went to all the universities. Nobody wanted to hire me. One of the people at one of the fancy universities around here told me that I had no skills and I should go back and start over, and very discouraging. And my husband, who's a startup guy, he said, well, if they don't want you, why don't you just start your own thing? And it's, come on, nobody just hangs out their own shingle and starts a cancer center. What, are you kidding? And so he introduced me to the El Camino Hospital business development people, and they apparently wanted to build a cancer center. Well, I didn't know anything about building a cancer center, but it was the only job I could get. So I took it and said, okay, I'll do that.
Learn as you go.
I thought, with some help from my husband and help from some other people, but I really just sat down myself. And I think what most people don't necessarily realize is that you know all that you need to know. You just have to trust that you know it. And so I thought about the places I'd been, and I've just made a list. I was like, if I was in the perfect place, what would it have? right? What would it have? What would it not have? I never want to have a phone that goes dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that, dial 3 for this. I want a human to answer the phone, right? And and so based on what I had decided, which was I think that the services should go to the patient, not the patient to the services. Uh, we actually built the Cancer Center. So we wrote the first set of business plans in 2005. And in 2005, December, we got funded by the board of the hospital $10 million to start the Cancer Center. And so over the last 15 years that I've been here, we've grown substantially. We had all of our patients originally came here and then they would go to Stanford. And then, we'd lose all these patients to outside our community. And so what we created was a place where the patients had high touch and high care, right? They really felt like they were part of our family. We gave them our cell phones. We got them in within 48 hours. I mean, we really worked hard to make them feel that this was a place that they were cared for, right? Because cancer is a disease, right? And it's an illness. If you just treat the disease, you don't treat the illness, right? That's the issue, right? And so having these warm nurses, a beautiful front desk. And so when you go over to the Cancer Center today, the front desk says, "Oh, hi, Mr. Smith, how are you doing? Are you feeling better today? Do you need a wheelchair?" Right? All of those like little touches that make someone feel like they're cared for are particularly important. And so we have built our entire program around that. Now, that being said, our program has grown from about 1,000 new patients, which is how cancer centers are indexed, to 2,400 this year. We have been certified by the COC. We got a gold accreditation, but really with one principle in mind. And everybody in the cancer center has the same principle because I hired them. It's really that the services come to the patient, not the patient to the services, and that we are responsible. When you come through the front door, we are responsible for making it good for you, right? It is not the patient's responsibility. And so that's my philosophical self, okay? So I have a private practice separate than the cancer center. And about 8 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, one of the patients came in and she had had breast surgery maybe 25 years ago and had a recurrence. And, we took care of her recurrence, and then, the next couple of visits, she came in and I said, "Oh, hey, what are you up to?" So, and she said, "Well, I'm finally remodeling my bathroom." And I said, "Why are you remodeling your bathroom after all these years?" And she said, "Well, I was maimed by my breast surgery, and I don't like to look at myself as I get out of the shower. And I don't like to, and I don't want any mirrors. I don't want any indication that I've had breast surgery before, right? I don't wear t-shirts of a certain size. I don't go out of my house and all of this." And it was such a story. I remember it. I remember where she was sitting when she was telling me this, because I've been doing breast surgery. I've been doing surgery for a long time. And it never, ever dawned on me that what I thought was a good result was not a good result to the patient, right? And you can say it's a little self-centered, but I was like, oh, well, my job is to take care of your cancer. So I did that, right? You're alive, you're well, you can talk about your bathroom remodel, but really it was about her living her life, right? She needed to live her life. And if she thought that that moment had maimed her for life, then we really didn't do all that we could do, right? We did half of it, 3/4 of it, but we didn't finish it. So this concept, which I think is really, really important, and when you look at all of so the doctor's sort of in the middle of this, and it's not just one doctor, there's like a million of them, right? So there's the surgeon, there's the radiation oncologist, there's the medical oncologist, plastic surgeon, right? And then there might be a cardiologist, a nephrologist, whatever team it is, right? They have 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to talk to these people. And we're so fixed on those things that will kill you, right? And so we're nervous about your scans. We talk about all the details of surgery. We talk about consequences and things like that. So the physician is probably not we do give support, but we don't give support the same way ancillary staff gives support, right? And the ancillary staff is completely necessary and vitally important. Okay. And so the nurses, the navigators, the social worker, the cancer psychologist, all of these people that surround the patient are the people that lift them up as much as the news from the doctor and all of those things. And so it's critically important that that team understands what's going on with the patient, how's the patient interacting, right? Because if you put the patient in the middle, like we always talk about, put the patient in the middle, okay, then who's surrounding this patient and what is their support system? How are they actually going to have the disease treated and then the illness treated, right? Because it's a whole collection. So in our cancer center, we do a lot of holistic things, but I don't think people really understand the value of talking to the nurses. Like the nurses are super helpful. They're medical people. They are warm. They're funny. They take care of them. And then all of a sudden, the treatment stops because you're better. So then what happens? Who do you talk to next? Right? I mean, then you feel this sense of loss and grieving for this daily contact, weekly contact with people that are your tribe, right? So who do you then see? And that's never very clear, right? So this whole concept of cancer survivors is never really clear. What does a cancer survivor do? What does that mean? So we've put together programs. So we teach you how to be a survivor. And it's a little bit like recovering from PTSD, right? There's a moment of adversity, and then you have to turn your body around and go forward, right? And it's mind and body going forward. And you can't keep looking over your shoulder, wondering whether the cancer is going to come back or whether the cancer is chasing you, right? You have to be able to move to the next place. And not everybody can move to the next place, right? It's hard. And I have patients that have chest pain right before they come for their scans, or that they feel anxiety ridden like you've not seen before their scans. And they're so worried that this is going to be the day somebody's going to tell them they're going to die, right? And so just understanding that kind of up and down that patients go through, I think is really important. So after all this lady came, I started asking each of the patients that came in a little bit about what's the sensation that you have, what bothers you. And it came really clear that the hair, nails, skin, all that stuff is very dysfunctional. And what a lot of people would say is, nobody told me it was going to be like this, right? So then I went back and I said, why did nobody tell you? It's on the list, right? If you look at side effects, it's on the list. But there's so many on the list items. So if you look at how I think of things, is that you can be reactive about things, and you can say, oh, all right, well, that's cool. I'll deal with the side effects when they get there, and I'm not going to pay attention to the side effects until they affect me. You can be active and say, well, okay, I'm going to look for the side effects and I'm going to catch them early so that they don't bother me. Or you could actually be proactive and say, I'm not going to get these side effects because I'm not going to let that happen.
Right.
And everybody falls somewhere on that spectrum, doctors, nurses, everybody included. I happen to be of the active, proactive people, but it's not to say that everybody's like that. So when I started looking into this, I did a lot of reading, and I read the literature on side effects. I read the literature on supportive care. I looked at all the guidelines. There's NCCN guidelines, there's ASCO guidelines, there's Surgical Oncology Society guidelines, head and neck guidelines. You know, I mean, there's like a million of these. Many of them do not focus in the question and answers. If you look at the American Cancer Society, and what they say to you do about your skin is kind of minimal. And yet your skin is what you see in the mirror when you look in the mirror, right? And it happens to be your largest organ. And what many people don't take it into account is that the skin reflects how the body is. So if you're taking a medicine like Taxol, or you're taking a medicine like adriamycin, what is happening to you on the inside is also happening to you on the outside. It may be slightly different, but at the end of the day, the drug is in your tissue. And it affects your hair follicles, it affects your nails, it affects your skin. Your skin is never quite the same. It's more sensitive to sun, it's more dry, it's cracked. Now, when you piece it all together and you think about it, The last thing a patient wants is to be limited by side effects such that you need a dose reduction in your chemotherapy agent. All right, because the data for your drug and your outcome is based on getting the whole amount of the drug for the duration of the treatment. So if you cannot have that drug because you are limited by side effects, whether it be nausea, whether it be diarrhea, whether it be skin toxicity, it doesn't matter. You're going to get a dose reduction. And if you get a dose reduction, you're not getting all of the medicine you need. Now, there might be some redundancy in amount of medicine that you need, but you can't prove that because the study was done on X amount of medicine for X number of days. So if we as cancer professionals in all varieties made it our mission critical to keep patients on the drug by managing the side effects, then we will have done something really kind of amazing, right? We will have then kept people on drugs that they really needed to be on. So we put together, with the help of estheticians and dermatologists and all different people, an offering of things that patients might need. And I'll give you one example, which Becky and I are not going to talk about in particular, but it makes just a good point. One of the things that some of the drugs do is that they cause oncolysis, and they cause what in your fingernails, that this is the bed of your fingernails, you get cracks through here, and then you get skin breaks and you lose the barrier, and then you get loss of the cuticle and loss of the blood supply at the bottom of the nail, and then you get the nail to lift off. So the nail lifts off and you end up with a skin break and you lose the nail. All right, so if you end up with all of those things, then your nail will fall off, you will have a skin break, and you will get infections, and you can get ascending infections into your fingers, and some people can lose digits. It's not a, and
Big.
Yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah, and we talk about that in class, and I see it quite often, and it's a very big issue.
Well, one thing you probably don't ask the patients, and you probably should, is when you have this and you have what feels like chilblains on the tips of your fingers, can you button your clothes? So you now no longer can button your shirt. You can't put your shoes on. So then all of a sudden you start to feel ill, right? You look ill, and that person you look at in the mirror is not you, right? You don't have any hair. You have nothing to frame your face. The eyebrows are gone. The eyelashes are gone. And that person that's looking back at you is a sick person. And that is a debilitating item. So when I talk to the patients, I said, listen, your mind and your body have to move the same direction, and we all have to be moving that same direction. And if your mind is back here and your body's going forward, then that doesn't work at all. So we do have to do both things together, even though it doesn't seem like there's room for both things. So that brings me to this hope and beauty thing. Now, I would tell you that I have two children. They're 11 and 16. I have a small business, which is my practice. I run the cancer center and I operate. So I have no need whatsoever to run another business.
Huh? Figure out where you fit all this in.
Well, fortunately, it's all coming together. There was a period of time where it was all very different. Now it's starting to come together. But again, it's a moment where you feel like this is just an important item, and so we're doing it. And that's this. So what we did is so if you look at the website, we have all these various things. Okay, and I'm gonna just go, if you go to the next slide.
I think you can. I gave you remote control. Okay. So see if you can. If not, I'll take it back. Perfect.
Okay, so we have some boxes that are, okay, we have some boxes that we curated, and we have products that you can buy, individual products, but we really tried in various areas to deal with specific items. Oh, I forgot to tell you what I meant to tell you about the nails, is that we use something called Polybalm on the cuticles, and Polybalm was actually in a clinical trial. And so the clinical trial actually showed a benefit. So that's why we stock Polybalm, right? It actually has data to suggest that if you use Polybalm in certain things, now whether you could use regular cuticle oil or you could use some other oil is probably all fine, but it turns out the Polybalm has data for it.
Right.
Other stuff doesn't necessarily have data for it. But,
data.
Yeah,
Right.
so we've tried to come from places of data that there we're trying to solve a problem for a patient that is not necessarily a medical problem, if you want to call it that, but it's a problem that causes discomfort, pain, distress to patients. And it's what the patient is bothered by, right? Some people are not bothered by certain things, and other patients are really bothered by it. One of our patients said, you know, all my life I've been pretty, and when I had cancer, I wasn't pretty anymore. And you have to think about that, that this woman suffered a lot, and there's no reason to add suffering onto suffering.
Right.
So these things are meant to alleviate some of that. So this is our hygiene box, and it has a number of different items in it, one of which is a scarf, one of which is some non-flavored toothpaste in case you have mouth sores, some mouthwash that helps you out a little bit. But this is just kind of a basic box that we would have in a gift center, or cancer centers might give it. This is our what we call our chemo companion box, and this is a little bit more stuff. I mean, it's a lot of stuff actually. And what it has in it is it has a lot of the things that are in the hygiene box that's there. We have fake eyelashes. We have a little tool to put lashes on, which is called Lash Binder. And it's non-toxic glue and some scissors so that you can be a little more glamorous should you wish to be more glamorous. And then there's a nail kit, and the nail kit has non-toxic nail polish. It has nail polish remover. And then there's a exfoliant so that you can get to your cuticles, and some softer things to push your cuticles back and things like that. And then there's a small little facial kit so that you can do probably 4 facials at most. And they come in these little, the one that's pictured here on the left, we've changed out, but it comes in little foil packets, and those foil packets are, you know, good for a few uses. And then this is our supportive care workshop. And I know we don't have tons of time, but this was our idea. And I have to say, we got really good, good and lucky to work with all the estheticians, because the 3 estheticians that are going to be on this workshop, and it's a workshop, it's on Zoom, is Becky's going to be there. Brooke Devlin, who's a trainee of Oncology Spa Solutions, and Julie Bach, who's a nationally recognized esthetician as well, and works specifically in the cancer space. So what we're going to do is we are going to have people register for the class, and as part of the class, we are going to send you the box on the right, and the box on the right contains a DIY facial. And I'm going to talk a little bit about medically treated skin. Brooke is going to talk about clean ingredients, and Becky's going to do a facial with everyone, and so that you can do a follow along facial. Following that, Julie will do a mindfulness moment, and we'll do a little bit of stress work, a little bit of anxiety reduction, and things like that, so that the patients can take with them just a moment of peace, right? You had a facial, you had a little mindfulness, and maybe brighten somebody's day just a little bit. And what we're hoping is that the patients themselves will register. Maybe if you have a friend or family with cancer, that this might be something you would give them, and just to send it around so that people know that there's actually something out there. Because I think what the biggest problem has been is that people just don't know that there's solutions for these things.
Right.
They just don't know. And we would like to get them some help that they need. And I think all of you are kind of instrumental in talking to these people and helping them through what is a very difficult time. So I'm going to stop there, and I'll just take any questions. I don't know, Becky, you have any other things I should talk about?
Oh yeah, we do. So I'm going to do here, I'm going to stop this one. We're going to go to back to the other one real quick. Maybe every once in a while it just doesn't want to. So here, questions. I had questions for you. So I answered some of them, but I know that what the estheticians on this call would love to hear are a few things a little bit more specifically, like when you work with an esthetician. So we now know you have this vision. You, maybe unlike some other doctors out in the world, understand the skin relation to the healing process. And I loved your saying of the mind and the body need to move in the same direction. And when you're taking care of somebody with their cancer, that's moving their body in one direction. So how do you move their mind to that same direction? And I love that. So when you're looking to work with an esthetician or bring somebody onto your team, let's just put it that way. What do you look for? You mentioned that earlier. So what do you look for?
So I look in first part that they are empathetic to these people, right? These people are not a burden, right? That they just have to have that sense of compassion for these people that are suffering immensely, right? So when you come through the front door of our cancer center, you don't, I mean, there's not gonna be, what are you doing here? You don't have your paperwork. Why is this, right? It's, oh, hi, Mr. Smith. Just general cordial greeting, how are you? What can I do to help you? And I think that that makes a lot of difference. Just that first approach.
Do you find, when I was in retail, one of the lessons that I learned as a manager was that there are certain skills you can teach people. Like you can teach them the technical aspect and you can teach them the job, but you can't teach someone to be cordial and you can't teach someone to be nice.
No.
So you have to look for that in the beginning. Is that person already come with that, right? Because that's what you want. And I love that. I love the fact that your people, when they come into your cancer center, feel like a person and not a number. Because that's another thing that a lot of cancer patients will tell me, that they left where they were because they weren't treated like a human being, right? So that's really, really key. Okay, what can an esthetician do to get the yes? So if they were to approach you and tell you that, I really want to work with you, name a few more things of what you would be looking for so that these guys can prepare.
Well, so the thing is that when you are saying it's integrative treatment, right? A lot of people's mind shuts down, right? And what you want to say to them is that this is really important for cancer survivors to redirect their energy, right? Because they're no longer in clinic every day. They're no longer, and so this is the transition from being a cancer patient to being a cancer survivor. And this is all part of that healing process from the adversity.
So
right?
We're talking
most cancer centers and most places these days, because it's required by the COC, have a cancer survivor program. And estheticians, exercise people, journaling, painting, all that stuff all falls into that cancer survivorship. And we actually teach a class at the cancer center called Cancer Survivorship. And so there's two ways to deal with makeup, right? You can cover it up or you can let it hold free, right? And so Look Good, Feel Better was about that. And so I would say that you're not the replacement for Look Good, Feel Better, but you are an adjunct to Look Good, Feel Better.
Right.
And everybody knows Look Good, Feel Better, so it's kind of easier to start from there.
Right, and since that has kind of gone away, kind of coming back a little bit. So it's coming back, but with a higher cost. So some hospitals are doing it. Which is why we're looking to come up with that replacement program, which is something that you guys can do when you're approaching. I love that. That was perfect. Words matter. So how would somebody, what's the best way to approach a doctor? Is it to go through your...
So just to understand that the doctor's busy, right? I mean, people think that when I'm late to clinic at 9 o'clock that I'm sitting eating bonbons. I really wasn't. A lot of times I was in the clinic, I see patients in the hospital. I've been awake since 6:30 in the morning, probably at the hospital since 7. And I'm trying to get as much done as possible in the minutes that I have. And so if I have a deathly ill patient, this is not the time to talk to me, right? It's just be a little mindful of what's going on for that doctor. Right. And that if you're asking me if someone can have nail polish on and somebody's actively coding in the ICU, I really don't care about the nail polish. But so just pick your times well. And sometimes you can approach a doctor after case conferences. Sometimes you can approach them through memos or messages once you have that relationship with them. And say, hey, I saw your patient such and such. And they're having this issue with redness or something like that. Do you mind if I treat them? Most of the time they won't. Most of the time the oncologist will send a patient to a dermatologist.
Right.
And if you can partner with a dermatologist that the oncologist knows, then you're probably got an easier road.
So again, going that channel through another doctor than through a dermatologist.
Right, because the dermatologist knows what the dermatologist needs to know, as well as the esthetician, because dermatologists work with estheticians all the time.
Yep, exactly. And I always say, we know the touchy-feely part, they know the med part.
Right.
You are really good with emails, but I sat next to a oncologist on an airplane one time who, through the course of our conversation, he pulled up his computer and he had 2,000 unread emails. And I said, is that normal for you? And he said, yes, it is. So I have pretty much said, don't email a doctor because you're good with it, but not everybody is. So again, finding that time and maybe integrating themselves into, I kind of suggest that they do some volunteering at a hospital, right? So that the doctors get to know them, do whatever you can to get in there.
Well, the social worker is always a good solution because remember, the patients have about 10, 15 minutes with me. So they don't end up unburdening themselves with me, right? They feel a little bit guilty about worrying about their skin when they're not dead, right? And so there's a lot of guilt that goes associated with it, right? So they unburden themselves to the nurses, they unburden themselves to the social worker, they tell other people their problems. They don't necessarily tell me them. And so those are the people that you probably would like to give your material to and say, hey, social worker, you know, I have this opportunity, you know, if you want to send some patients, if they feel like they need a facial, or they need a manicure or whatever, I'm oncology trained.
I love that. Let's look at the questions here. Let's see, somebody said, with the event, can a person and their caregiver be a part of it? Can I refer them?
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely, right? Let's see, many derms prescribe things us holistic SDs would not. How do you get around that? Again, remember, we're gonna have to let doctor do doctor things. When you get that client, we never will say anything negative about that, but let's then work our magic, which what we know how to do, that can help maybe fix what's going on. You know, there's really not
I think you have to appreciate how busy it is for physicians. And in this current age, everything rolls up to the physician. So if you have a hangnail, oh, tell the doctor. If you if you're dying of your disease, tell the doctor. Like everything in between comes through. So you don't have a lot of patience for just stupid little stuff, right? So if you're going to do something, make it convenient to the doctor. If the doctor finds you convenient to work with and that you're someone who takes things off the plate as opposed to put things on the plate, you will get much more traction.
I like that. I think that's great, great, great advice. Guys, anybody else have any questions? There's 25 of you on still. Anybody have a question you've always wanted to ask an oncologist? If you do, now's the time, put it in the chat. Looks like there's some things in the Q&A too, so let me check that really quick. One of my clients hates the term cancer survivor. Anything that you've heard someone else says, I've heard that one a lot too. So what are you hearing patients want to be called?
Some people call cancer warriors. It's a tough one. There's a couple of my patients that every time October shows up and it turns the world pink, they go to another country. You know, they just can't deal with it. And so again, I think it's a little bit dealing with the PTSD of the name, right? And the fear of things coming back. And so as people become less fearful, that term doesn't bring on such bad memories.
Right. And when we use that term, and I think what you were talking about earlier is that you're mentioning that when we're talking about what we can do or how we can help, that we can help with the cancer survivorship program so that they have some services there that would be supplied by us. Let's see, if an SD reached out to you through a handwritten letter of introduction, would that potentially be well received?
It depends on if I get it. You know, because there's layers of people between me and the letter, right? So sometimes I get the letter, sometimes I don't. I think that there's Cancer Survivors Day, which I think is a big one. So if you volunteer for Cancer Survivors Day at every item, sometimes we have wellness fairs. That's another good place.
Right.
And we have a henna artist that comes to our wellness fair, and she comes to our Cancer Survivors Day, and she just donates her time.
All kinds of fun things like that. All right, well, I think that I don't see any other questions unless anybody has any last minute ones. We'll go ahead and close for the day. Thank you so much, Dr. Singhal. Your message was extremely, I think, very inspirational. I'm going to do one last little poll, guys. If you would please answer just 2 questions this time. Was this inspirational, educational, and helpful for you? Yes, you loved it, or no, not what you need right now? Or Would you like to have more webinars on this topic? Right now it's 100% yes, loved it, and 100% yes, want more. So maybe we will have Dr. Singal squeeze us into her schedule somewhere in the future. And we'll come up with some more questions and things that we can ask her, but that's fabulous.
Yes, of course. Well, happy to do it. You know, I think that our patients deserve the best. And so wherever they're going to get, they're going to touch a lot of different people. And sure, they see us a lot, but they actually share themselves with all of you.
Yep, I love that.
And so you have to be prepared to listen to what they're going to say to you.
Yep.
And some of it's heartbreaking. Some of it's really heartbreaking. But
times in a class, that's probably the most important thing. When I send you my manual, you'll see it. That the fill-in is listen, really listen when somebody talks, because this is really important, and you might be the only person that they feel comfortable sharing that with. Could we get more details in advance? Then we could come up with questions ahead of time. Yes, I will try to do that. Guys, I do list it at the end, and it's not on here because for whatever reason, technology is not playing nice with me today. But you can send me an email and I will get you the update. And also, when you go to look for the webinars on the back side of the website, with this one will be the PDF of all the slides. So the ones that even weren't shown today will be there, and you'll see the information about the upcoming webinars, and always you can send me questions ahead of time. I would love that. So thank you so much for being here, all of you. Have a blessed and wonderful rest of the weekend, I guess is where we're at, and I will see you all here next week. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Becky. Have a lovely weekend. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.